beautiful people, and welcome. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to factor polynomials with grouping. So the first thing I want to go through is what we're looking for and kind of what we're going to have. So when you are given a polynomial, this one's going to have 4 terms. Now a term is going to be something that is separated by a addition symbol or a minus or a subtraction symbol. So you're going to have something like, you're going to have their first term plus your second term, minus your third term, and plus your fourth term. So you're going to have something like that. And so when you're grouping, you're going to group the first 2 terms together, and you're going to group the second 2 terms together. Now, what we want is we want to create bubbles that are going to be the same. Same for these 2, and then same for these 2. And how we're going to create these bubbles is we're going to pull out a GCF from the first 2 terms and a different GCF from the second 2 terms. So you're going to pull out a GCF, greatest common factor, from these 2 terms, and you're going to pull out from these 2 terms another greatest common factor. So that way your leftovers, so whatever you pull out, that's fine, but you're going to have the same thing left over. And if you have the same thing left over, you're going to group that one time. And then what you're doing with the GCF1 and GCF2, let's say this was a plus, oh, let's say it's a minus, it doesn't matter. This could be a plus or a minus. And what you're doing here is you're going to say your GCF1 plus or minus GCF2. Now, you're not actually going to write the plus or minus symbol. You're going to just do the plus or the minus. So how would this look like with an example? Let's do an example. So for an example, let's see here. Let's do this one here. We have 3m cubed minus 7m squared minus 9m plus 21. So again, how are we doing this here? So we are going to group the first 2 terms, and you're going to group the second 2 terms. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull out a GCF, and then something's going to be in the bubble, something's going to be in the bubble, and our objective is to see if these 2 bubbles are the same. If they are the same, then we have grouping. If they are not the same, then you cannot continue factoring by grouping. You have to use a different method. So here I have a 3 and a 7, so that's not common. I can't pull anything out there, but I am noticing I have an m cubed and an m squared. So I'm going to pull out an m squared because that is common. So what is left over? I have 3m left over minus 7. So what that is, if you want to check, here's a thinking bubble. If I was to have m squared times 3m minus 7, I would multiply it by distribution. So I have 3m cubed minus 7m squared. So when we're doing this, we're just undoing the multiplication. Again, now we're going to pull something out. And again, I want to pull something out that will create the same bubble. So I want a 3m minus 7 in here in order for factoring by grouping to work. Now I have a 9 and I have a 21. 9 times 3 is 27, so I can't pull out a 9, but I don't want to because I want a 3 here. So I'm going to pull out a 3 in order to get 3m, 3 times 7, and I want a plus. So then here's the thing. I need an actual minus here, so I'm going to take away that plus, and I'm going to put a minus. Now, how can I make 3 positive and 7 negative when I have a negative 9 here? I'm actually going to pull out a minus 3 because when I do my check, when I do negative 3 times 3m minus 7, and I distribute that negative 3, I should get negative 9m plus 21 because that is what I originally had. And I do. And I'm doing a mini happy dance because these two bubbles are the same. So I'm going to take those two bubbles and write it one time. And then I'm taking my two GCFs and I'm going to combine them in their own bubbles. So m squared minus 3. And that is it. If you can factor further, go ahead. Typically, you can factor further if you have 1 here. 1 is one of our numbers that we really, really love and hate at the same time. But that is it, and you have factored by grouping. We're going to do one more example. Let's do example number 2. Have 84m cubed plus 210m squared minus 24m minus 60. And the first thing, step number 1, is always check for a GCF in the beginning to make your numbers easier to deal with. And I'm noticing I have 84, 210, 24, and 60. So I know at least 2 is going to be able to be pulled out. But let's see if there's any other numbers that can be pulled out. So I'm going to take out my calculator. I know even numbers are going to work. So let's try 4. 84 divided by 4, that's 21. 210 divided by 4, that won't work. Let's try 6. 84 divided by 6, that's 14. 210 divided by 6, that is 35. 24 divided by 6, that is 4. And 60 divided by 6 is 10. So we can pull a 6 out. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to factor out a 6 first. So I have left over, I have 14m cubed left over plus 35m squared minus 4 minus 10. So now what I'm going to do is apply grouping here, but never forgetting about my 6 in my final answer. Okay. All right, so let's group these two and let's group these two. So I have 14m cubed, 35m squared. All right, beautiful people. I hesitated there for a moment and I realized 7 does go into 35. So let's go ahead and pull out a 7. So my GCF for this one's going to be 7. And then I do have an m cubed and an m squared. So I'm going to pull out an m squared. So what do I have left over? Remember, inside the bubble goes whatever. If we were to multiply the 7m squared into, we'd need 14m cubed. So I would have 2m plus 5. Now again, let's group these two and pull something out. Again, I want the 2m plus 5 in here. That's my goal. So what do I need to pull out in order to get 2m plus 5? I have a 4 and a 10. See if that's even possible. Sometimes it can't happen. Sometimes you can't have factoring by grouping because the bubbles are not able to be the same. So what do I have? I have 4m, so I need to pull out a 2. But I have a negative, so I need to pull out... do I need to pull out a negative? I do need to pull out a negative. And then I have 2 times 5, which is 10, but I have a negative, so there you go. So now, again, these two bubbles are grouped by 1 time, and then these two are grouped. So what I have is 7m squared minus 2, and then I have 2m plus 5 as my answer. All right, beautiful people. That is it for grouping. We're going to do lots of examples in class. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.